we've been here for about 5 years and we've been struggling. Like I said earlier, like it almost felt like we had like weights on our backs constantly everywhere we went, and we were like, I think it's time to like get the band over to North America, and that's where this whole big move.
I kind of joke sometimes that because I named the band Harmonies, well, we're always gonna go through these turbulent times. But it's like these, you know, it's like no good story is just all good and all bad. It's like it's a tale, and it's like you can't really respect one without the other, and you can't really feel like true pain if you haven't had true happiness, or vice versa. But it's the stories we tell, and these memories and these situations that happen to us that are good or bad that make a song, and make a harmony, and make this story that's like bigger than all of us. And we've always been adamant about making the best out of a bad situation, because we've always just been dealt out these bad situations. And for the most part, we've overcome them.
Welcome to a special episode. I haven't actually done a live recording in a long time, so I'm excited to shoot the shit with you guys, but we're here with Harmonies. So let's, for the audience, do an introduction.
Hey, I'm Alex.
And Alex plays the drums.
I play drums.
My name is Danny Lopez. I play guitar.
I'm Rylan Whalen. I am the singer, lead man.
Yeah. The most important frontman ever, right?
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see.
Right.
And I'm John Goodblood. I play guitar and I sing, and I'm on a podcast.
Yeah. Where's the name Good Blood come from?
I just made it up.
I was going to say, like, that's either made up or that is a very historical sort of name.
Yeah, I think it is. It's like, I think it's like an old, like, you would definitely have like a Civil War soldier or some
kind of,
shit like
right?
that, be named Good Blood or something.
Yeah, I was thinking more like Dracula and like Albania and stuff.
Yeah. I think it's something like ancient.
Right.
You know what's funny? In Dracula, he reveals that he's a vampire in like the first line. He's like, they offer him wine. He's like, I do not drink wine. Wine. He's like, oh.
See, he was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
He's off it.
Right. There's no such thing as an alcoholic. Right. All right, gentlemen. So, we wanted to get together and chat. I mean, you guys are at a new stage, or you know, the next sort of pivotal point in your careers and the music. But let's start from the beginning, right? So we were rapping a little bit before we started to record around how you guys sort of got together. But it's a combination of Argentina and Burlington, and I made a joke around the talent coming out of Burlington, and it's not so much a joke, but right, a lot of artists and musicians and actors and comedians. So where did you guys meet? How did this all start? Start from day one.
Okay, so basically it all started in Burlington, Ontario. When I was 12 years old, I moved here from Miami, and I was like the new kid in Burlington, right? So coming in for middle school, I already had like long hair and tight jeans. I had already been playing music, and my goal was to come here, find like a band and continue making music. And like my first week of school, I met Alex in the hallway. We both had like band t-shirts on, long hair. It was like a typical high school movie.
I was trying to like get away from math class or something, and like
yeah, we just saw each other. We're like, "Yo, nice shirt. You too. What do you play? Drums. I play guitar. Want to start a band?" Like, it was like such a
that's literally our first interaction ever.
Want to start a band?
Well, you know, I think that's the cool thing to do back then, right? Even
For
to
sure.
this day, like
No,
everyone wants to be in a band, right? Everyone wants to be the singer.
For sure. No, yeah, it was crazy. But funny you said that. So we were missing a singer. Yeah, drums and guitar. We were jamming, and then that's when I guess Alex had a friend who was neighbors with Rylan, and then from there they were like, "Hey, we need a singer," and that's where we met Ryan.
Yeah, Alex had a neighbor across from him who went to my school. Like we're in a completely different like district. But yeah, Alex had a neighbor, and I went to school with him, and we kind of met each other a few times, and
Through our childhood.
and I was taking like singing lessons at that point, and kind of my mom used to play guitar a little bit, so I had her old guitar, and I was kind of just strumming around and like trying to do things like that. And then yeah, they needed a singer, and
I was like, I know a guy.
I know a guy.
And then after, like, let's say we started rehearsing, we started playing a couple shows, and like the band was formed, right? And let's like the first.
How old were you, to put into context?
We were probably like
14.
14.
14
right?
or
And we were playing
15.
some shows in Burlington. By the time I turned 16, I was in Canada under refugee status with my family, and I get told that our case gets amended and that we need to return to South America, right? So at that point, I need to break it down to the guys like, I'm leaving, right? And that was like the hardest thing in the world for me, and it was just for the band in general, right? And we even had like the saddest like goodbye party ever, where all my friends came to this house.
Everybody showed up to cry.
Everyone would take turns saying goodbye to me, and like before they went home, and because it was like my last time seeing them.
Right.
And me and Rai had like, he was one of the last ones to leave.
Yeah.
And we looked at each other. We're like, well, like, let's just make a promise that no matter what, we'll make music together. We'll figure it out somehow. We're 15 years old.
For whatever reason, it's like I still think about it. It's like we were young and we'd only been playing music together for like a year and a half, 2 years. Like, but we built a connection like that quick, and we literally did. We promised ourselves like
I think like
we're gonna figure it out, and we have. But it's crazy that when we were that young, even then we knew like we would do something.
How much time were you guys apart before you sort of
So
got
that's
back
what
together?
I was going to get into that. So like the moment I leave when I'm 16, Ryan and I and all of us, we just started like FaceTiming and stuff, right? And at the time it was Skype. So we're Skyping and Ryan's showing me songs he's writing. I'm showing him guitar parts. And at this point, like his family's noticing like, okay, I think.
Shout out to Skype, by the way. Remember Skype?
Right. And like
Zoom just destroyed everybody in the pandemic, but Skype used to be a thing.
Skype was the OG.
Probably like about a year after, or a year and a half of me being there, like we were just FaceTiming so much. Or, like,
People started like visiting you slowly.
Yeah.
Like we were still in high school. Like, so I think Alex or Elliot, our other friend, was the first one to visit. Then Alex went to visit him, and then I went. It was like on March break during like grade 11 or 12 or like summer break. And so I went back and forth about 3 times before I actually graduated.
What was crazy is like every time I would like get my manager mode on. I'd be like, Harmonies is in Argentina, and I would start messaging radio stations, and suddenly like his first time there, we're 16, 17. We do like some pretty big radio stations, some shows, and we realized like, whoa, this is crazy. We're getting a lot of attention from not being from Argentina, singing in English. It's like, it was weird, right? So then I'm starting to realize, okay, like since I can't be in Canada, Rye's like, all right, I'm just gonna move there till Danny's able to come back. And that ended up taking,
which we thought was going to be way quicker than it was.
It took about 5 years of Rye being there before like I could figure out my whole situation.
Right. So how old were you when you moved there?
I was 19.
Okay, that's young, man.
So pretty young. Everyone's going off to
Some
college.
people go to college.
Some people go to
take Argentina, play rock
but
and
we
roll.
might say that's the best education ever in college.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
The joke throughout like those years of our life was like you wouldn't have learned this in college.
You don't teach you this in college.
Right.
Crazy life stuff that you just you have to figure out. But also being in a different country is just insane.
And then when you're there, this is where John comes in.
Exactly. So actually, just to get that story in quickly, when I first moved to Argentina, I'm 16. We're video chatting, all that stuff. I live in this neighborhood called Belgrano. It's in Buenos Aires, and I would take the subway, right? And I got out of the subway and I could just hear someone playing like blues music in English, sounding really good, right? And in that moment, I was like, okay, I need to talk to this guy. And then I just walk up to him and I start talking to him, and I'm like, where are you from? He's like, I'm from Argentina. I grew up in New York. That's why I speak in English.
Oh, cool.
And that's the guitar.
You got to get a shot of that one for the audience, man. Like you got to get
the guitar that Danny saw me playing.
You got to get on YouTube.
It's out of few balls.
It's Frankenstein back together. Like,
It's been destroyed, but I fixed it with a piece of a window.
Oh wow!
And, but this is the guitar, right?
Yeah.
You should fully restore that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's from Italy too. Look at the back. It's got these crazy.
It's got this crazy design.
Oh wow! That looks like Costa Rica. The
Yeah, it
palm
actually
trees,
does.
the sunsets.
Greg's like, take me to back to this.
There you
He's
go.
like, this Toronto weather is it? No, but yeah. So he was playing that, and I remember I just asked him like, hey, so what's the rules of performing on the streets in Argentina?
Right.
And he just kind of laughed. Was like, bro, you're in Argentina.
There's no rules.
Flawless.
So
This
what's
is the
funny
Wild
is
West.
that for 2 years, I would
It's a lawless land.
for 2 years I would busk across the street from him in the same corner, but not his corner, just across the street. And every time he would show up, I'd be like, I'm out. It's his corner, right?
Right.
Just out of respect. For about 2 years, we didn't even talk since that conversation.
Almost nemesis,
Yeah,
right?
at this point, and then one day,
Knife fights. And stuff.
and then one day I just kind of crossed over the street. And
Yeah.
I was just,
Want to smoke some weed?
yeah, I was like, want to hang out and smoke some weed. And from there, I remember that we just kind of never stopped making music.
Yeah, we were on a subway and we said we should do something with all this English
we're
English music down here. Yeah.
So then, at that point, whatever, we're all writing music together in Argentina. Alex is now back in Canada because he was in Argentina for about a year.
Yeah, we had teamed up by that point, and the band had gone from playing more from open mic kind of spots to bars to nightclubs to doing a national tour. We had teamed up pretty successfully down there in Argentina. But the thing is that the currency down there is like one of the most hyperinflation like currencies in the world. Like it's like 100 and something percent inflation yearly. So even if you were like the most successful musician, like you wouldn't make like we knew musicians who were filling out theaters down there, and they would take the bus, not a tour bus, like the bus to go to play. So we were like, maybe, and we had this experience with an American producer named Joe Chicarelli. He came to do like a master class in Argentina for like a bunch of producers, and we were like the guinea pig band that they used to record. And he's done records, by the Foo Fighters and Elton John and the Strokes and Jack White and shit. And that experience was incredibly eye opening because he was like, he really could. He made us very apparent that Argentina is very behind just the development for music, and that what he was doing was just like next level, and it came from North America, right?
Like shitting on Argentina.
No.
It was more specifically the tools he had and like the work we did with him, which we thought was the best thing we've ever done in our lives. Yeah. When he handed over us, he's like, "This is probably 10% of what I could have done in my home studio in LA." Yeah. And I was like, and at that point we were just like, okay, we've been here for about 5 years and we've been struggling. Like I said earlier, like it almost felt like we had like weights on our backs constantly everywhere we went, and we were like, I think it's time to like get the band over to North America, and that's where this whole big move.
You know what's cool about the story so far is like the commitment to continue, right? Like even though life was going to sort of pull us apart and create some sort of obstacles along the way, the objective of like, hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna be the band, we're gonna keep focused on it, and literally flying across the wall to move, and going through the stresses of like being in a new environment and all that stuff. It's a very cool story of fate in some regards.
I kind of joke sometimes that because I named the band Harmonies, well, we're always going to go through these
harms and ease,
turbulent times. It's like these, it's like no good story is just all good and all bad. It's like it's a tale, and it's like you can't really respect one without the other, and you can't really feel like true pain if you haven't had true happiness, or vice versa. But it's the stories we tell, and these memories and these situations that happen to us that are good or bad that make a song and make a harmony and make a like this story that's like bigger than all of us, and I think we've always been adamant about making the best out of a bad situation, because we've always just been dealt out these bad situations. And for the most part, we've overcome them. So it's
perseverance is the game.
Yeah.
Can I tell you you want to jump in, Alex?
I was just gonna say harmony is like a universal law. Like life is so dualistic itself, like in everything we do.
Yin and yang.
Yeah, and together that makes harmony.
I was once told this, which is the lily pad story, which then the giant lily pads.
That you can put like a small child on it.
Correct. So here, this was told to me, so I can't take credit for it. But do you know how long the lily pad takes to grow to become a giant lily pad? 20 years. Okay. Now here's the really important part. The lily pad, right, grows 80% of its size in the last 2 years, from year 18 to 20. So the lily pad for 18 years struggles, right? Struggles. And if you're, the moral of it is if you give up too early, you lose all the growth, which has been, which is now here to come, right? Which is like, now there's the exponential growth, right? But it's taken the 18 years of going through the harms and the eases, right, in order to get to this time in your career, which is exciting.
That's a great analogy.
That's a really good story.
Well, I do this for a living. So.
You're damn good.
Lots of stories.
It's the whole thing that they say about like it takes your whole life to write your first album,
right?
And then you only have a year to write the second one, right? So it's like your whole life you're writing, like all the experiences and everything you've learned come to this one thing, and then you got to speed up. Now the next one's like it's coming right away, right?
Like staying on top is even harder than getting to the top, right? Yeah.
Okay, so the decisions to come back to North America, and you guys land back in Burlington.
Yeah.
Okay,
so this is crazy. Right. I'll start and you can take from it. But when we moved to Burlington, because obviously they're from there, and it was like we ended up having a friend who has a house in Burlington who said, "You guys can take my house." This was crazy. This was on that. So we're like, okay, we moved to Burlington. Me and him are extremely happy. We're in Canada and we're like, we're about to take over this new career in our life, blah, blah, blah. Pandemic hits a month after moving here. We had no idea.
Oh, so you just moved
2020.
Here? Oh, wow.
And it was in January, so the pandemic hadn't even hit. We were like, it's about to take over. We're about to take over Canada. It's about to, like, it's going to be the best time ever. Boom, shut down. No music, no nothing, no shows. And then that's when we realized, like, okay, like, this is crazy. It's something that we never thought, like, live music was something we never thought would get taken away from us, which was our life, got completely taken away from us. And then, yeah, I don't know if you guys want to take over what happened from there.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't know what to do, but we started focusing on like social media and TikTok specifically. And because we had no like outlets for our music at that point, you know, we had a little home studio in our basement. We were just demoing, and we were making these just a lot of content, and like every little inch of that property in that house that we had, we utilized every single room, and we were like making music videos in them and doing as much as we could with the little resources we had and with what we had going on, and it was crazy.
So something that happened, I'm not sure if you guys remember during the pandemic, since like bars were straight up closed or they had very limited like capacity and stuff, a lot of people were hanging out at parks, and I'm talking people like dressing up like the way they would dress up to go to a nightclub, but at a park, and they're just getting drunk at a park, and everybody's got like
standing 6 feet away from each
and
other.
Little
circles. Here's
exactly.
my pod.
So for us, you know, we were like longing live music, and as you said, we were like focusing on content. That was like a great avenue for us to go out and be like, hey, like we're still musicians. This is still music. Right. And what ended up happening is that we did this clip of an acoustic version of just one of our songs that we were just working on. Called Cut Me Loose, and overnight it went totally viral, right? Wow. And that song ended up like doing a lot for us. So it's kind of like out of the struggle of the pandemic, we were like, what the hell are we gonna do? Well, I don't know, let's go to a fucking park and play something, and it ended up being like a big catalyst for us.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, look, in the pandemic, you either made moves and you moved forward, or you got trampled and you got really stuck, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, again, back to the perseverance, right? And
exactly
the whole conversation of the lily pad. Okay, so it's pandemic, mid-lockdown, right? You guys are creating content, right? Which we might say in a lot of cases from a band standpoint and the business standpoint, it's like foundational to your success in today's world. You have to be producing these videos and this type of content, right?
It's basically like if you don't do it, you're almost just like not a part of it anymore.
Well, you won't be seen, right?
Exactly. So
yeah, it can be a bit discouraging, because like a lot of times, you know, you just want to focus on, you know, the music, and then you have to come up with these like creative little gags or something to get people to listen to your music. But that's the nature of the game now. So it's either you kind of adjust to that or you don't. And there's a lot of like, I think we're lucky because we're kind of, maybe there's bands that are younger than our demographic that are like, they were born into it, so that it's second nature to them. But we were kind of on the cusp of it, so we're kind of analog and a bit like digital at the same time. So we were just at the right point where we jumped on it quick enough that we like have an understanding of it. But it's like a lot of bands like that are a bit older than us don't. And
I like the pursuit of making good content.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah, of course.
When you like pursue to chase something that's like, oh, this looks creative, or this is like. That like you look at it as like, I would watch this, like hopefully, you know, it's hard, it's really hard.
Yeah, I like
the pursuit of it.
Yeah. Well, I gotta tell you, I mean, you know, our good buddy Johnny can like your manager.
Yes,
we're allowed to say that.
We are.
It's not a secret. Okay, so Johnny, right? And you know, like they're exercising content. I love their content that they do. Like Walk Off the Earth,
insane.
like. It's it's brilliant, right? And it's fun, and
it's musical and
it's
performative.
musical. And back to what you're saying, like it's I think it's kind of hand in hand with music now, right?
100%,
like the visual of the music, right? So
big shout out to G, because one of the reason why we even got good at TikTok and all these things was he was mentoring us and helping us throughout that, because we were also like, it's hard, and like someone like G who's like mastered it, you know, and to get his advice, and like it would be good for us to send him a video and be like, hey, is this cool? He'd be like, try this, try that, change this around, right? And I'm not saying it wasn't discouraging, because there was a point where like we would try everything and nothing was working. Right. For months, it'd be like no views, no views, no views. And he kept just being like, guys, don't stop.
You have
just
to stay
keep
consistent.
making the content. That's all. Like he will continue saying that to us today, no matter what. Like that's still something that's so part in our work dynamic. It's like, guys, keep making the content. And then when that video went viral, we got the call that morning. He's like, we did it, boys. Like, you know, and that felt so good because it was like, it was so long of like just posting and trying everything and then being like disappointed, you know?
We come like kind of close and then it would be like, okay, but we got to keep pushing, and then.
And it doesn't mean that like we have to stop. It's like now we have to even push it even harder, right? And someone like G, for example, or Walk Off the Earth, like their content is so like high quality and so amazing. It's like, and we've learned a lot from that, you know, and making our content the best that it can be. And like you said, it like the visuals and the music go hand in hand. And a lot of the times you'll watch a video because of the way it looks before even how it sounds, and then you're like, oh yeah, I actually like the sound of this. So it's all tied in nowadays. It's like, you know.
All right, so you're back here, and this is where there's another big sort of hits or obstacle that you guys go through. So the pandemic was one of them, right? And your label was the other.
Here we go.
So, and I think the reason we want to talk about this, just for the audience standpoint, is like, you know, on the business side of music, right? There's really important things to understand and know, right? Like we're talking about content, right? Like there's things to do, and it takes a little bit of, you know, being guided to do so. But you know, in the relationship with like a label or even sort of like a boss, for example, it's a trusted relationship, right? We rely on that relationship. So, what happened with the label?
To put in,
A little prelude, just in general, like we're not going to like be talking about the music industry in general, like, because we love labels like Columbia Records, one of the greatest like record labels of all time, you know, like curated music for over 100 years. We love like record labels. We're going to talk about a specific entity that pretended to be a label and is now like keeping our music hostage. Is that kind of a...
If I could add one more thing, it wasn't like all this happened and then the label thing happened. The label thing was happening throughout the whole, pretty much since we got to Canada.
Yeah, and then another thing that what John was just saying is it's this could also like raise awareness to other situations that bands are in with these independent labels that make these promises to young artists, right? Especially like as an artist, anyone who's willing to help you, it's like the most amazing thing you could hear. Someone like, I want to help your career, because no one wants to help your career as an artist. So, and that's a very powerful thing, like the dynamic of someone helping you and what you're willing to do for the help, right? And so let's keep that in mind. I can start if you guys want.
Yeah, sure.
We met them. So we had just moved to Canada. We're back in 2020. We met them right before that, actually, right? Right before we fully moved here, we met them because we made a trip here for 4 months before officially moving.
It was like 2019.
It was like 2019.
Kind of test the waters.
Met them, and they were like, hey, we want to help you guys with your career, this and that. Again, it's the best news you could ever hear anyone say to you. We're coming from Argentina, third world country. No one was helping us at all there.
Did your spidey sense go off at all?
Yeah,
was
right away.
Like, oh,
went off. Yeah, my spidey sense went off. But like in the moment, we didn't have another option. 1, 2, they were willing to help us with housing and with a lot of things that
they're gonna record an album for us.
Yeah, a lot of things that we didn't have the money to do, right? So we were like, okay, yes, there's a couple red flags popping out about how this person is, but I think like anyone who's investing in music is a little crazy in general, right? There's got to be some sort of like eccentric side of you, because there's a bunch of businesses that maybe you could spend that money in and make it quicker, but for some reason you care about music. All right, we were like, let's deal with it. This guy seems like a cool guy, whatever. And yeah, like I said, the red flags started coming in early on, but we were like moving forward. We did start recording, and he did start helping us in certain things. So we're like, all right, let's move forward.
The red flags didn't really pop up till we moved in with him.
I was calling them out from early.
Okay, well, I mean, that's where I really saw it.
I remember you weren't. No one else was. I was like, guys, this is weird.
Fucking weird.
And everyone was, again, we're still so happy from what's happening. We have no more help. Yeah. Everyone was like, let's just figure it out. But I remember being like, this is some weird red flags, right? Yeah. And then he goes, why don't you guys all move in with me, and we have a big house, and this guy's in his 50s. And that's when things started getting like out of control, and like, I don't know, you guys can
to be honest, like I didn't want to move there either. We needed to move to the city. I get that, but it was we were all a bit naive to like what kind of conditions we were gonna live in. But pretty soon after, we moved. We were living in Burlington for a bit, and then he's like, "Oh, let's how about you guys just move in with me because my lease is ending, and let's just get a big house. I'll get a studio in the basement. It'll be great. You'll make content, music, whatever. Yeah. All kinds of great like promises." Yeah. And then like you know,
So many nightmare stories.
like a week into it, we start realizing he's like, oh, it's not all like fun and games. Like you guys got to be here from 10 to 6, from Monday to Saturday. Like, and if you like you're under like kind of my watch, and like you have to produce like a song a week. You have to do all these kind of crazy things, and it was really strict. It was like you can't leave. Like if you have to be there at 6, like don't leave at 5:30. And like one of the like couple first weeks we were there, I left at like 5:30, and I go to visit my girlfriend who like took over our lease in Burlington. So I go visit her early, and then I get a call from like him and be like, "You better come here right now!" And I had to go all the way back home, and he starts telling me like, "You don't appreciate this band, you don't respect it. You can't skip out early," and he threatened to like kick me out of the house. Like he's like, "If you don't follow the rules, like then." This and this, and it was always like that.
But this is the irony, right? Like, I mean, the band doesn't follow rules, right? I mean, there's
rock band.
like it's a band.
Rebellion here.
trying to tame a
half
wild
hour
horse.
early. Like, come on.
I get it. Now, I mean, you know, just on the surface level of the conversation, you could hear maybe the intention behind the position of like, we got to do work, and like in order to be successful,
Yes.
like we got to grind really,
Totally.
really hard, right?
That was, of course, that like even when he was bringing up these things, I was like, let's go. I was like, let's fucking like, I'm ready, right?
Yeah.
Let's make music every day. Let's do this.
Of course.
But it wasn't that like the message and idea was there, but the way he was actually executing the like and just treating us and controlling the whole situation was just wrong, right? I don't want to get too into detail, but yeah, it was messy.
Look, it
right?
sounded like you ended up in a shitty situation with a shitty relationship, a little bit stuck.
Exactly, right? And again, so let's say this contract, the original contract that was signed when we first started working with them, it constantly kept getting amended and changed as our time progressed with him, right?
Did you know what was being amended?
Well,
It was getting shoved down our throats.
Constantly,
Like, here,
he'd be
sign
like,
this,
"Hey,
sign
guys,
this."
The contract changed. We have to sign it, and we're living together. So he'd be like, if not, you know what happens, right? Kind of thing. So it was constantly like there would be changes to the contract where we were just kind of like, all right, well, if we don't sign this, then we have no
Face homelessness.
Yeah, so it'd constantly be this whole thing where like, okay, well, we don't have time to figure out where we'd go, so we need to just sign this, right? And it ended up happening a few times, right? And by the like last time that we signed a contract, it was just completely out of control, and the things that were on there were not true anymore, right?
Right. But did you, like, when this was being presented to you first, I mean, technically you need to be given legal
Exactly. So that
options,
never
which is like,
happened.
please take this to a lawyer, and
Never happened.
you know, so you know,
Actually, what's worse is that they had a lawyer, and they told us our lawyer is your lawyer, and their lawyer drew up the contract, and they're like, if you have any questions, just ask our lawyer, right?
conflict of interest.
Yeah,
Exactly, right? So that's why this whole thing is messy from the beginning. We were also we moved here, we were very young, we didn't have any legal advice, right? And they didn't
Well,
usually...
you just got a PhD in legal
Oh,
experience, right? Fast forward this conversation. So we're in the situation. There's crazy behavior happening. The contract's being changed. You're not being given representation to review. There's also due time, right? Which is you got to process. So where are we sitting now? This is what, 2022?
Yeah, let's say we're around 2022
When early this year,
Yeah.
like when we come to early this year, in which we were nominated for Juno, right?
Congratulations.
And thank you.
Thank you.
It's a big thing.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
And so they were in Edmonton this year, right? So we all went out there, and we'd already been like as you just noted, like in constant conflict with this label, and something happened at the ceremony, both in the opening night and in closing ceremony night, in which both label executives got escorted out by security because of their
Behavior.
Yeah, belligerent behavior at
And
both
whatever, you guys
ceremonies.
didn't win, so this person...
It was a
won.
mixture of that, and they showed up late, and one of the girlfriends of the guys her seat wasn't there, and their food came late, and all this, like, it was a storm of stupid things that you should just like brush off, but that added to the fire.
It just basically after what happened in that
was the
incident,
straw
we
that
were
broke the
like,
camel's
okay, we
back,
can't continue being in like working relationship with these people. They're gonna ruin our career, right?
Well,
And
what was that like for you guys to be standing in the middle of the Junos, in the middle of the industry, with all these other musicians?
was
Like this is
It was crazy. It was like a Kanye moment, when the Kanye like goes on stage and stuff like that. Yeah, man, it was crazy.
So
And it's violent,
Just
too.
mind you, this was not the first time like they did stupid things or kind of jeopardized our career or like jeopardized relationships with other professionals. Like that happened a lot throughout our whole relationship. That was just the biggest thing.
And the biggest night in Canadian music.
Basically, what it got to was after that, we came back home to Toronto and we decided as a band, like, this can't keep happening, right? And that's when the whole thing was like, we need to get out of this contract. There's all these things in the contract that never happened. And then this is when the whole like legal dispute starts coming in. And basically what they've been doing is they have demos that we did, just demos.
Like
low quality MP3s that we did in the last couple of years being with them. Unmixed, unfinished. It's our art, it's our life, it's everything we work for, right? And they've been releasing songs illegally on Spotify. So,
under
under harmonies.
They
So-
invented a new harmonies.
Well, the first-
There's one of the songs is on our page and another one is on another one, but they're uploading the songs kind of going like, we're going to keep making money off your music because they think they're entitled to it. So this is where things are getting really messy now.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of the details is who owns the name Harmonies.
We
right?
do.
Yeah, so from a brand and a copyright or trademark standpoint,
So
you can't-
basically, that's the problem right now, and that's where our direction's coming at. It's like in Canada, for every copyright infringement, for every different platform the song's been uploaded to, it's a $28,000 fine, and it's been uploaded to about 80 different like channels, right? So it's like already a huge number of copyright infringement that's happening right now.
So what's the lesson in all of this?
It's a big lesson.
Don't jump into these relationships without legal advice. I think is the biggest one.
It's the most cliche thing ever because we grew up watching all these documentaries about rock bands getting in these situations. But something I've learned, and like a big lesson, is like just the excitement and all these things. Like, don't run your life with these emotions and excitements because, like, in the moment, even though you've heard all these crazy stories, you're like, I don't care, I'm gonna sign because this is the next step in my career. But we didn't. We should have been smarter about that, and we should have taken our time.
And it's not that we're the most foolish people in the world. Like, as you said, like, we were coming from the third world. Like, and it's like the Beatles don't own their songs.
I know Michael Jackson does.
Yeah. So
Paul gone back.
Oh, he did get them back.
Paul,
That's the famous,
for the most part.
That's the famous sort
Maybe
of
not John's.
case study, which
It's
is
getting
like
them back.
the Beatles didn't even own their own music at the end of
And
this.
it's
Right?
not that they
John
were-
Fogerty as well. Like he just got him back.
Yeah, do you hear the story about John Fogerty getting sued for sounding like himself?
No.
So Atlantic Records, I think, owns all the Creedence stuff from back in the day. And then the 80s, he put out a solo song that sounded like Creedence because he wasn't Creedence. And they were like, you sound too much like yourself. And they sued him. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the industry is crazy. And like, as you get older and being in a band, you have all these expectations of what it's like being in a band, and it's very different, right? And when the business gets involved in something you love, it starts to get messy. But I've learned to love the music industry too. That's something like you said, like I feel like I learned so much throughout this experience. And one of the things is just to be more involved in the business side as an artist. That's like the biggest thing as the biggest tip ever is like artists have been screwed over in the past forever because they just don't want to be involved in the business side of it.
They just sit in the artist role,
think
not
it's like,
the business side of it. Yeah.
That's a huge mistake. Like, at least get yourself a little bit in that world to understand what you're dealing with, because music is also an industry. There's
Some of the
money
great artists have also been great businessmen with their art.
Exactly.
Look at Prince.
I was just watching some sort of Netflix thing yesterday, and Shaq popped up, or I think it was Shaq's Netflix special, right? And one of the things I took from his special was how intelligent he was on the money side of things, right? He's a business, and it was always about the sort of like, okay, the investment advisor I'm going to use is going to be the person that is focused on saving money, not building investments and stuff like that, and putting away and just managing that business side, because it's happened throughout history where artists and athletes come out on the losing end of this stuff.
I'm pretty sure Shaq, for example, is one of the guys when he first got his first paycheck. I'm pretty sure it was like a $1 million or $2 million paycheck. He spent it in 2 days. And that's why he started getting financial advice. Because I saw an interview in some podcast where he's like, I bought a car for myself, a car for my mom, and suddenly there was like $200,000 left. And then that's when someone was like, yo, you're spending your money. That's not how you should be spending your money.
Right. And those cars cost money each year. So it's not just the
Exactly.
one-time purchase. It's the continual expense of them, right? So
it's also something like people who grow up without money. Like once you get money, you get excited, right? And you have
that's
to be
the hard
smart.
thing. It's because like if you come from a humble family and you're young, like we were, like you get excited when there's someone who wants to invest in you, and And there's plenty of people throughout our career who have kind of like tried to help us, but they couldn't, or, you know, like, or promise something that they couldn't fulfill. And it's just like, it's going to happen because if you put trust in people, like,
You want to bet on yourself too.
yeah, of course. Like, it's, you know, it's hard.
You know, be careful of the trusting hand or the helping hand. The helping hand. You know, as you were telling me the story, and you said this guy wanted to help. This guy wanted to help. This one. My spidey sense. That's why I asked you guys early. Like, did your spidey sense? Because it is very rare, I think, in the world that people are genuinely selfless and go into these exercises as a pure, this I have no horse in this race, this is for you. There are those individuals out there. I try to practice this, I look for it, but at the end of the day, there's a wonderful saying, which is, go in with your eyes wide open, so you could really see everything, right? Anyway, the good news is the story's not over. The story's not over, right? The story's actually just beginning.
Yeah, we're pushing through all of this, and like as we said, we've learned from it and being mindful of it, but it hasn't stopped our desire and our drive to create music in any way.
It inspires the music,
Like, how you mentioned earlier how the fact that we've held on to something for so long, right? And we've overcome already so many obstacles that, like, whenever something hits us like this, even like when we're all together, we're like, guys, we've overcome so much, like, this isn't going to stop us, right? And that's always been the mentality, even when we're moving from another country to another country, or we can't even be in the same place. It's like, okay, we'll figure it out. And we usually have. So we always have, yeah. So it's like, this is just like another step, I feel, in our career. And
it's funny, we live in this world right now of like this it's not funny, but there's a mental health crisis. And and I don't want to talk about the severe side of it. I want to talk about the social idiot that's running around saying they've got anxiety and it's difficult. And you got individuals saying, oh, I need to be more resilient and all this stuff. And I always say to people, like, the resilience and all this stuff isn't something that you learn, right? It's something you gain after a period of time. You get kicked in the nuts over and over and over again. You got to go through it, right? And it's true, with there is no light without darkness, right? Like, it's night turns into day. So, has your music changed a lot in regard to how maybe I wouldn't say maybe the type of songs, but have you noticed an evolution?
100%. Yeah,
it's more refined.
Like, when it comes down to like our music, we're always pushing it more and more. And even though we've been dealing with all these things, like, no matter what's happening, we're always like, the music's the most important thing, right? So for us, even though we're dealing with all this, we're all growing and getting better at our instruments and getting better at songwriting. But of course, like, all these things end up influencing the way our music sounds and like the way like they write most of the lyrics. So a lot of the lyrics that they're writing also gets influenced by what's been happening in our life.
Yeah,
right?
that's not even musically. It's just like the experiences you're going through sometimes.
Have you ever heard like a diss track for a record label? Like rappers have been known to do it. Queen wrote a song called "Death on Two Legs." Maybe there'll be some smack.
We have a new album we're working on, and we're definitely influenced by everything that's been happening in the last couple years.
The other side, just back to the contracting stuff. So, are you going to go after your side of the contract, the money owed to you guys, or is it, let's just move on and
we're in a similar situation, a conversation we had with you earlier, where we're just gonna stand our ground because we know we're true to what we did, and we know we're right, and we know we're in the right spot, and we're gonna stand behind that, whatever that entails.
Yeah.
That's good. Look, I believe in the world. I'm a fighter. I've always been it. As a kid, I would physically get in fights, and it was usually out of defending someone. All right. And, I think in this world, if you're not ready to fight, if you're not ready to stand your ground, it's problematic. So it's really important that for the audience and for all of us, right? There's the right time to stand up and stand your ground, and there's a right time to push, and there's a right time to fight. And sometimes we need to be willing to get a little gritty.
And it was since we went public about everything that's happened to us, it was a little scary beforehand. You didn't know what was going to happen, but it's been really nice to see our audience, come out and be like, okay, like guys, like push through this. We're here for you guys. It's brought us closer, I would say,
There's
to
a lot of
our
support.
fans and our audience. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, what's upcoming for you in
Tour,
2024?
baby.
We start a tour tomorrow.
Amazing. All right. So let's, by the time this gets released, you would have already
Yeah.
played, but you
Yeah.
start off in Toronto tomorrow, and
Yeah.
it's a week tour where you're sort of traveling around Ontario and
Yeah.
Canada.
Exactly. So we're opening up for the Dead Daisies. The Dead Daisies it's like a super group of members from Motley Crue, Whitesnake, Foreigner, Ozzy,
Guns N'
Roses. So it's like pretty heavy 80s rock guys, right? So it's gonna be super cool for us to like even chat with them and learn about like their experiences. But yeah, so this tour starts Friday. It's 7 days, 6 shows, and it's gonna be rock and roll.
Awesome.
Maybe
Awesome.
they've had some disputes with labels they could.
Oh, I'm
for
sure a
Yeah.
number
Two
of them
cents.
have.
Sure, we
Yeah.
can kick up some stories.
Yeah. Well, this is where they say it's really important, and we were chatting about this earlier, which is like surrounding yourself with the right kind of people, right? And, I think what's cool about what you guys are doing on tour and meeting these other artists and bands is, sharing stories and getting that guidance and that advice, right? So cool. Very cool. So, jump in, John.
No, I would just have the mic on my face. I don't know what to say.
He's just such a professional.
He's just ready to go.
He's ready. Right, Listo. What inspires you guys now? What keeps those creative juices flowing?
A lot of
Drummers aren't
a lot
creative.
of things.
They just bang and make noise.
That's not true. That's not true. I do a lot of things.
I'm a percussionist, not a drummer.
I don't know. Like right now, just like if this situation, no matter like how crazy it is, it's still inspiring. It's still giving a lot of life to our music and yeah, it's a learning process, right? So for me, that's inspiring.
I'm like lately, as much as we're dealing with all this stuff, I'm still like I'm constantly looking for new music, right? That keeps me super inspired. Just listening to new artists releasing new things, and that like pushes me to be a better musician, and that's like what keeps me moving forward in life, right? So I feel like what's been giving me lots of inspiration and like pushing our music is like going out to see new bands, seeing what's happening, and listening to as much as like new music as I possibly can.
Next to your music, what's the category or the style of music you listen to most?
Next to like rock music, I guess like alternative indie kind of stuff, like more like modern, like anything that's kind of modern right now. I'm getting my hands on it. Even when it comes to rap, rock, pop, anything that's pushing the genre to a certain extent, like that's what I'm looking for in any genre, right? Just like things that sound new to me that no one's been doing and stuff. Like that's inspiring to me.
I think throughout like all the crazy stuff and like the bad stuff that happens, we've done a lot of really cool things. We've traveled a lot of places and we've met a lot of cool people, and we're always doing these cool things. And even like just the day-to-day kind of like, oh, this is crazy. It's like when we're up on stage and we're playing to people, it's like that inspires me. And to I think since I was a kid, it was always like I was inspired by these other musicians that were passing on this like kind of energy and their own lives and their own music. And I was so inspired by it that I wanted to do something like that. And I want to be able to, I want there to be like a kid in the audience or another, it doesn't even have to be a kid, anyone that feels inspired or just like passionate about like what we're doing and makes them want to do something special too.
Cool. Very cool. John?
That's a very, very good answer.
Yeah, it was an excellent answer.
What was the question? What inspires me?
What inspires you to stay
Just
creative?
anything. I could be inspired from like a plastic bag, but no. But like I write a lot of lyrics, right? So I'm
Yeah.
always looking for like.
You're the poet.
I like looking for interesting things that when I write them, I'm like, that's good. That will sing good, or that's like an interesting piece of poetry. But a lot of stuff inspires me. Like I think, yeah. Well, I told you I told you before we started the podcast that we wrote a song called Elon Musk, right? And that makes sense because like podcast smoking weed. You're from South Africa. This is awesome in that sense. And then sure, Messi is killing it right now, right? Like Messi, like imagine being that good, goddamn, right? So the other day, I was talking with a friend, and he sent me the Sting song "Englishman in New York," right? And that's like a cool concept, like of a foreigner writing about being in a foreign land, right? So I'm maybe writing a song right now in my head called "Messi in Miami."
Amazing.
Like what's interesting about that is like we are like immigrants in this country, right? And as like something that's crazy, that's really interesting is that people think me and him are Canadian, right? Just from speaking to us, but I'm 100% Colombian.
We're like
Spanish is my
exotic,
first language.
exotic as fuck.
And that's
Well,
you
it's the
still
sun.
face
There's
this
not enough
problem.
sun here, so you don't
Not
get
enough sun,
you don't get the tans.
But there's this whole thing that like I'm sure you feel it too, but it's like when you're an immigrant here, you're still thinking like, okay, I'm not from here fully. I'm not 100%, you know? And that like it's this other challenge that you're like, I want to be accepted. I want to be part of this whole thing, you know?
When we first started, I felt that way in Argentina.
Exactly,
Right.
right?
So it's always been that we've always
How do you
felt
define
these
your
problems.
community and feel normal?
Yeah, well, what's inspiring is the fact that we're here from another country, and like a lot of people in Argentina would be like, "That's impossible." Like a lot of our friends there were like, "You're gonna move to North America."
To be competing in the music
They're like, "You're gonna
industry
compete in North America. Good luck."
Yeah.
Right? They're like,
But this is where you need to be to compete.
we're doing it, right? And that's super inspiring. The fact that we're here, and people have even said like, "Oh, you're not gonna make it. You're not from there." All these things, and we're still fighting it. And I think that's pretty powerful, right? That like we're still just pushing through and
Staying the course. Staying the course. Awesome.
Definitely inspiring.
Well, I'm excited to watch your journey and be a part of it, and see
Very
and hear the music.
insightful stuff. Good piece of advice.
Yeah,
oh.
I've been watching a lot of your content.
Oh, thanks,
Coming out as a
brother.
better
Yeah, I've been
human.
watching a lot of it, and it's super inspiring, and I'm glad you're putting the stuff out because it's like it's good. That's one thing about content that we were saying. Like content can be hard to create or whatever, but when you do pull through and do some cool content, it can open up the world. It can do so
Absolutely.
much, right? It can do so
Absolutely.
much.
Well, that's why we do it sort of, in the exercise of always sort of being better and providing and giving, and hopefully not that it's just that one would listen to my videos, but maybe my video will trigger someone to watch someone else's video or hear a message differently or whatnot. So, and music, I think for me has been one of, like most, it's probably one of the most important things in life. You need music. So what you guys are doing is you are the definition of life, right?
It'd
When
be
it
a
comes
very
down to
boring
music.
world if there wasn't art. And
Correct.
we
Correct.
get by, but I
Correct.
think a lot of us are inspired by these things.
All right, before we come to the final question, let's drop some of your links, your info for the audience. Where could they find you? Where could they listen?
You can find Harmonies. You can find Harmonies on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube channel. Just Harm
X.
and Ease.
X.
Hex.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, anywhere you stream your
We're
music.
thinking about
dude.
OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Only
Thinking about starting an
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.
Only bands.
Yeah, it's
right?
nice.
What would
see.
be your
Or
what would be your
Harmon-
OnlyFans
Harmon
offer?
sleeves.
Like feet or
We just play all our songs without a shirt on. And that there's higher tiers, and
You know, like-
slowly
Depends on
everything
the
starts
You gotta
showing
pay
up.
a little extra.
Right.
The cowboy hat on.
Right. You get Alex just
I feel like there's
combing his
something
hair.
there. There's something
Personalized
from there.
Think about
personalized
like
videos like, hey.
like Jonas Brothers are on OnlyFans or something.
Oh,
All
they
these-
would do well.
Think about that'd be a
Hey,
good.
guys, maybe this is the new TikTok theme for you. Maybe this is the
OnlyFans?
new
That's hilarious.
the
We should
viral
just
video,
fake
which
it.
Funny,
is
man. That's
we're
good. Like a
we're
parody.
OnlyFans.
That would
Like
actually be a
like
funny
parody.
TikTok video. Like we
Absolutely.
just started an OnlyFans, and like we like pretend that we're
Yeah.
actually. Dude, that's
Yeah,
funny.
you
We
take your
should do
shirts off, you get the instruments
that. That's
going.
so funny. You're like, you want
Right?
more?
You ever
Very
want to see Alex
sensual.
Turner naked?
Right?
Spicy content on our link.
I love that.
Spicy content. There you go.
That's
Awesome.
hilarious.
All right. So at the end of the episode, we normally ask the better human question, but in this, we're going to change it, which is if you were to give anyone advice as of tomorrow, if you were to give them, again, advice on what they could do to be a better band or a better band member, what would you say? Because you guys are a team, right?
Yeah,
Like,
no,
this is
that's
a whole
it. It's
team
good.
effect, right? Like, what do you
Do you wanna
do to
start?
be a better band member and a better team?
I wish I had some like amazing answer for this because I'm trying to work on it myself.
We could come back to you. We could give you some time to think
why
on
don't you
that
start
one.
with Alex? Go.
Well, I was going to say maybe that always remember that everyone relies on each other and always show up for yourself and show up for your band members no matter what, and put your absolute 200% into it.
That's awesome. Love that. You guys could better follow up with something even better.
That was too good.
Yeah, I think if I've learned a lot of things, well, it's one of them. It's like to listen, take advice. Not everyone's against you. A lot of people, for the most part, want to build you to be a better person. But also in that sense, like, if you believe something in your heart and it's right, like like you said, stick to your guns in that sense. And yeah, intuition and find like-minded people that feel like inspired like you do.
That's great. Go for it, Danny.
I guess like something that I would have liked to hear when I was younger is similar to what you're saying, is to be able to take this advice from other people. And because when you're younger, you're just like, I know everything. I'm on the right page. And like these mentors, like you said, people who are helping younger people, like when you're so young, you can't take it in the right way. But if I would have listened when I was younger, I feel like I'd be way farther in my career. And that doesn't mean that I don't want to follow my own like intuition, but there's so much to listen to people and like learn from their experiences and dive deep into what you're doing. If you're in a band, like watch documentaries, learn about these things, because you're gonna get like we did. You're gonna get in situations that you don't want to get into. So I feel like just inform yourself as much as you can in what you're doing and practice your instrument, right? And like just fully dive deep into it. Because if not, then don't get into this world, right? Because it's too crazy. You know what I mean?
Get ready to face some hardships.
Get ready for it. It's not like
you have to be inspired because
that could go wrong, can't go wrong. And
you got to be strong.
It's not an easy life.
Like, what's funny, my little niece lives in Miami, and I was on the phone with her. She's really young, and I was like, I have to go to work right now. I have to go work on. She's like, work? I thought you were in a band. And she's like, I thought you were a musician. And I was like, whoa, wait. Who told you that musicians don't work? And then that's interesting. Like when you're younger, the idea of being in a band seems like the funnest time ever, and it's just fun and games and partying, but it's not. And
it kind of is for a bit until you decide to take it to the next level and make it a career.
When it becomes your business, and in that moment when you do realize that, just learn about it and care about it. Like what I said earlier, get into the business side, because if not, you're gonna get like stomped on.
But keep that drive, keep that ambition and inspiration.
The integrity, right? Yeah.
Awesome.
John,
you ready, John? You thought of yours? You got it?
It's loaded.
All right.
Don't underestimate the audience. There it is. Just
go.
like some people, sometimes, early on you put out music and you either don't put it out right or you don't get the results. Like people don't listen to it and you're like, oh man, that's because everybody's just out there listening to garbage. They don't understand the magnitude of my genius. I'm ahead of my time. They ain't ready for my shit. But actually, like, don't underestimate the audience. Like, why do people like songs? Like, and that also comes with this whole kind of punk guilt mentality that if something is successful, it therefore must be garbage. And that's not true, Like, why do people like these songs that have millions and millions and millions of streams?
It's
that
the
get
whole
played generation after generation, right?
It's like the whole thing that like the audience chooses what a hit is, not the band, right?
Be aware
we don't
of the
choose
audience.
it. The audience chooses.
Be aware of what they react to. Be aware that if you're like this is a little technical, but it's just one example. Like as a guitar player, if you're on stage and you're playing all like this, and you're looking at the guitar and closed off, and you're all tight, it won't be the same as if you look at them like square in the face. Be aware of the audience. I'm not saying pander to them and just please them every single time. You're an artist and you need to do your thing, but be aware of them. That would be my piece, my 2 cents.
Very true, actually. It's very good.
Well, the good news, gentlemen, is even though there's been some turbulence along the way, you have a very long road ahead. So you can fuck it up another several times.
We will.
And still be a huge success and achieve all those goals. So don't stop. Keep going, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Right. This has been awesome.
It's been
all
a
right.
pleasure.
To the audience, if you like today's episode, don't forget to like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share. Go and follow Harmonies. Go and download some of their songs. Pick up their album. Go see them on tour. Stay happy, stay healthy. We'll see you next time.